And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China.
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
Tell you a history about Israel and Egypt and Africa, and they act like them is in whole different places. I mean, if I told you Atlanta and Florida was in the South, I'm telling the truth, right? That's the same distance between Israel, Egypt, and Africa. Israel, Egypt, and Africa. Israel, Egypt, and Africa.
They say, go see the African History Museum. Why do they start when the boats came? Why don't they start with the drums?
When we was kings.
Yeah. Oh, they don't want it, but we are kings. Mm-hmm. But the 400 years doesn't have to deal with slavery. It has to deal with the Bible. It has to deal with us being disobedient to God. Us as 12 tribes of Judah, as a member of the Hebrew people, we are still inside of our genocide. 50% of all black deaths a year is abortion.
That's why you called Israel. Is it real? No, it's not. How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me?
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean,
over the Caribbean,
South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Take that back.
This gentleman right here. Huh? What happened? No, this the gentleman right here with the camera in his hand. Wave your hand. Pastor.
James Wesley Carr.
Yeah, James Wesley Carr. No. What's your name?
Oh, Kelly Richardson.
Kelly Richardson.
Pastor Kelly Richardson.
He is a great-great-grand-nephew?
Yeah.
Nephew of one of our first pastors. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's his uncle right here in the corner of the actual St. Glass window here to your left.
You got the eyes.
You look just like him. You got the same eyes. Anyway, come on, guys. Come on. That's funny. What's that up there looking like? Look on the outside edge of the pews. Look on the outside edge of the pews where you are. You see the different markings alongside the edge of the pews? They represent the different tribes that made up our congregation back then and spoke over 6 different languages among themselves. These were small tribes enslaved by larger tribes and sold to Europeans as they came along the African coast. One of the major languages they spoke back then was that of Aramaic and also two of Hebrew, which means the writings read from bottom to top. Assalamu alaikum. Which means peace be unto you. It's not a Muslim term. It's actually the same greeting which Christ gave into the disciples when he met them in that region. Most countries in that region read from right to left. Here in America, we read from left to right. That's why the pastors in the St. Glass window up front here are going in numbers 2 through 7 from the right-hand side over to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left.
This is First African Baptist Church, the oldest black church in North America. The building, built by slaves. The gentleman that laid the first brick laid the last. The balcony hold pews that actually were built by slaves. They have the oldest information in this building. That information is written in cursive Hebrew writing.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
I want to say peace and blessings to everyone. I want to apologize for my delay at jumping on and doing this live. I was still getting some video clips together, so I pushed the time back. I was going to push it back a little more because I was trying to gather some additional clips, but got more than enough. And I know you guys have been following this series, the Crafty Counsel, Blatant Liars, and we're doing part 4. And I know this is a last minute live, but it is what it is. And I encourage those that watch this in the replay, go back and watch the others that I presented. And I want to say about 1.5 years ago, I did a series called the Crafty Counsel, which was really highlighting all the different communities, as far as those that are different religious groups and all that came together to fulfill the 83rd book of Psalms. In other words, the Crafty Counsel, right? That's where I get it from. The 83rd book of Psalms said how this council came together to form a tumult, right? Hama, right? A tumult. In other words, a war cry. And in that chapter, it tells you that this Crafty Counsel came up with a goal. And the goal was to make sure that the reputation of Israel is completely erased, right? Because you see, the name of Israel is no longer, it's no more. The Hebrew word for name is Sham. Some of you guys hear the term Hashem, right? Or Hashem, that many of the Jewish community of today would use. And interchangeably with the Most High's name, which is Yahweh, right? Some will refer to Yahweh or use the Tetragrammaton or whatever the case may be. But the ancient pronunciation of his name is Yahweh, okay? But anyway, not getting into all of that. But I really want to do this portion of the video, right? I want to continue to build on what we already covered. And I want to touch on some things that we touched on last night, showing just how crafty this council is. So going back to the 83rd book of Psalms, all these kingdoms, all these communities, and many of them are cousins of Israel, like the Moabites, the Ishmaelites, and the Ammonites. Many of those are descendants of Lot, descendants of Ishmael, descendants of different communities that made it an assertive effort to come together, including Esau, come together with the whole purpose, with the sole purpose of destroying Israel, right? And also said that they strategized against the hidden ones as well. So guess what? We're the hidden ones. We've been hidden around the world. Most people in church don't realize that we are the hidden ones, right? The ones that really truly are lost. I'll put it that way, because there are many, starting with the church, the Roman Catholic Church, right, who birthed Christianity, right? Not Christianity being birthed out of the Roman Catholic Church being birthed out of Christianity. No, the Roman Catholic Church birthed this Christianity that we see today, right? So they were the ones that enslaved us, right? This crafty council, when we look at the transatlantic World War, right? The crafty council being led by the Roman Catholics, right? They came up with an asiento, an agreement on how to what? Enslave us. How to, there was basically how to, dissect our people, their spoils, right? And prior to that, you had the trans-Saharan, right, slave trade, which is Arabics, right? The Arabs, the Muslims who enslaved our people. See, that's another trade that many don't want to talk about, because if you understand that, why would you want to be in Islam? Why would you want to worship the very religion that justified slaving your ancestors, right? And just go figure, right? You have the Roman Catholics, you had, the Muslims, you had the Jewish community as we know them. You had Hinduism, because, man, when I drop part 2 of The Road to Savannah real soon, be on the lookout, I'm going to share some information about our ancestors and also dealing with Hinduism. I'm going to show you how we were slaves there, show you how we were slaves in China. All the world participated in enslaving us. But the trans or the sub-Saharan slave trade, right? That was the Muslims. That was the precursor to the transatlantic World War. And the sub-Saharan slave trade is still going on to this day. And isn't it ironic that we see these same groups coming together, even with this awakening, to come against our community? When you look at the conscious community, right? You have Moors, you have Muslims, and for those that really don't understand the difference between like the I would call it the Orthodox Muslims versus the Moors, right? Those that are into the Moorish science, it deals with doctrine, right? The Moors, right? Those that deal with Moorish science, right? They have their own version of the Quran that's based off of what is called the Aquarian Gospel. This is where you start getting into the Circle Seven, right? A doctrine that was written in the 18th century, right? They embraced that as part of their doctrine. And these particular people, right? They teach that Noble Drew Ali is the third coming of Christ, and that Marcus Garvey is his John the Baptist, right? I did a whole teaching on the Moors, right? That doctrine. Go back over and just look up that particular video, and I address a lot of things within there, right? So again, you have the Moors, you have the Arabs, the Muslims, You have, and this is going back to the conscious community. We have these Kemet guys. We have all these groups within, just in that alone, all of them have a commonality, and the commonality is coming against the Hebrew Israelites. We even see Christians teaming up with those that don't even believe in the word. They're teaming up with all these different groups that come at our community, right? Doesn't matter if you tell them that you believe in the Messiah, that you follow the law, but of course follow the law, statutes, and commandments. But it doesn't matter if you tell them you believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, that you read out of the Dabar HaKodesh, you teach, right? You know that salvation, of course, starts with Israel. But guess what? That is not just for Israel, but you cannot exclude Israel. Israel is not in the back burner. But the issue is us waking up. Anything but the Negroes. Anyone can proclaim to be an Israelite, long as they are not a Negro, and Negro interchangeably with the slaves, our ancestors that was brought into this country. So that's what the 83rd book of Psalms prophesied, that really talks about this crafty counsel. And we see that crafty counsel still in full effect today. And so that's what inspired me to do this series called The Crafty Counsel, because we still see the playbook, right? You have belief systems that contradict each other, but don't have a problem. They can put aside their differences, because we are the bigger threat. We are more dangerous than the coronavirus, right? Because even at the height of some of the craziness that I want to address tonight, right? At the height, right? This is where we started dealing with the coronavirus. I had people even connected to our assembly passing away from the coronavirus, right? People scared, looking for answers, but who is more dangerous? Our community, right? They didn't even care about all that other stuff. They just wanted to come at the Hebrew Israelites. So with that being said, now, and we talked about this last night, right? Touched on, allow my cousin Bishop Brown to give clarity, especially when we start dealing with these scholars in terms of, that the foolishness that certain individuals created this narrative saying that we need or had to create scholars to validate, to substantiate what we're teaching. And they're so desperate, and I'm going to call it that way, desperate, that they would, all the scholars that we brought to the table, they always try to find a way to twist them, from bullying them. And even Brother Beran stated it. And this is not to throw Brother Beran under the bus and put him in an uncomfortable place. When Brother Beran was having his issues with some of those from the church that he supported, and they tried to put him on blast, Brother Beran made it clear that many of these Christian apologists has a tendency to do what? Create dummy accounts, create fake names, create fake YouTube accounts, Facebook accounts, and he said they'll stalk you like your baby mama. And that's what those guys did. And again, this is not to throw Brother Beran under the bus, and I appreciate Brother Beran, even what he did when the church changed the information on the website, and Brother Beran made it clear to those that was doing all this craziness to say, leave those people alone. It's settled. Leave them alone. Don't go there stalking them. Don't go there, trying to contact them and all this different. Leave them alone. Unfortunately, a couple of individuals still didn't take heed to the wisdom that Brother Beran had shared with them, just to really keep the peace, because it really was ugly, family. It was ugly, right? And one of the key individuals, right, a Roman Catholic, came up with the foolishness of stating that we had to create a fake scholar to justify Hebrew being on the pews. And see, one of the things some of you guys have been following, I already translated some of the pews. See, if you go back and check the history, I was the first one that you heard say publicly, until I found out that there's a documentary that I just revealed last night, but found out that there was a documentary that even existed, because Brother Garfield Reed from the conscious community, who is an atheist, Now, we'll give him credit because he did mention that he had a friend who had a video, and he did mention it, right? But didn't believe him. But I will say he was honest with that, and he shared that clip on Brother Berean's channel a little more than a year ago. And in that video, it was to the purpose of them showing that video that I shared a little clip of it last night. They decided the goal was him trying to show that clip, showing that professor inside that video, the professors, they said that there was no Hebrew on the pews. He was trying to use that video to debunk me, when actually that video substantiated everything that I said. Even in the beginning, when one of the videos that they want to use to try to come at me by saying, hey, you know what? Even the pastors say he can't read the writings on the pews. He can recognize letters. And even in that time, I said, I see not only Hebrew letters, but I also see Ge'ez, right? And they push this out there to a lot of the novices that really don't understand linguistics, right? Languages. They think, hey, because you read Hebrew, you can read this right here. It doesn't work that way, right? A lot of you guys will struggle reading Old English, right? If you read English in its truest form, you wouldn't be able to read it. You know what I mean? So just because you see the English of today, modern English, you wouldn't be able to understand the English that the Norse, the Vikings used. But because they saw Hebrew, he said he could speak Hebrew. How come he can't read that on the pews? And they played on that. Because Hebrew, not just started with the Hebrew language, it evolved in different communities, right? And different geographical locations when you start understanding what not English, but language, and how they began to evolve in different communities. Believe it or not, even your cranium, right? Your nasal cavity has an influence on how you pronounce and enunciate words. Your accents, this is why certain communities can't pronounce certain words. This is why when you look at the Germanic language, there's certain letters and sounds they cannot make. That's why when you listen to the modern Hebrew, right, you hear a lot of influence of the Germanic, right? And I proved that, right? The vowels. But anyway, so they played on the people not really understanding the linguistic side of things, right? And so they began to attack everything that we brought to the table, right? As Moray Brown pointed out last night, they even made up lies stating that his assembly, boom, was forcing people to take DNA tests, only to find out it was a different ministry, but they weren't forcing the people, but they were using the acronyms DNA and, was using that as a symbolic to, for a narrative of that assembly, but had nothing to do with boom. But guess what? No apologies. Right? Even today, I haven't gotten any apologies, right? To say, hey, well, you know what? Pastor Kelly was right. But instead, what do? This so-called Christian apologist, Catholic Christian apologist, who tends to try to connect with every group within our community, right? This particular person, right, decided to really come up with some crazy, outlandish stuff, right? These guys made it a habit of every time they asked us for something, right? For example, and it's not them, starting with the Bishop Masons and the Damon Richardsons, they started asking, hey, where's the DNA to prove that you're Israel? And then when we start showing the DNA, and this is how my cousin Majors found out we were related, right? Because we did DNA. And the DNA, right? One of them was called DNA Tribes. I mean, and it got bought out and closed down, but I still have the results of it. Showed that, had in it that I'm Jewish, had in it that he's Jewish, and also connected the dots of us being related, right? As well as Jed Match, before many started grabbing a hold of it and going there. We confirmed it through there as well. So we found out we're related in the process of that. And I still got those records. I got multiple DNA tests that confirms. So once we started showing that our DNA results say that we're Jewish, right? All of a sudden, That doesn't matter. The goalposts began to move, right? Kept being moved, right? And then, of course, in that process, right? And I'm dealing with Bishop Mason and Damon Richardson, and this is not trying to throw any shade to those guys or anything like that, but that's who we were dealing with the Bishop Masons, right? Because I'm a pastor. That's who I deal with. That's how I was taught to deal with. You deal with people at that level, not a pastor dealing with a parishioner. No, not a pastor dealing with a young minister. No, right? So, but what began to happen is these, I guess some of the people that's in the lower end of the totem pole began to start doing videos and start coming up with all kinds of craziness. But let's fast forward, because I don't want to get back into that discussion. We covered that last night. And one of the things that really I decided that I was going to do tonight, because this crafty counsel, for some reason, they think that this was like a victory party, because every argument that they brought to the table got slammed. From the pews, what you see up on your screen, I'm the only one that actually did a letter by letter breakdown, and I'm going to do it again tonight. I'm going to do it again tonight, and you will not see on any of the videos, 90 plus videos they did on me, right? They'll go to the point where I get ready to show what I did, and then they'll skip over it. See, on me, on the other hand, all the stuff that they did, whatever things that they said, I played that and then shared exactly what's on the pews. But I want to share something to further substantiate the title of this lesson tonight, meaning that, and I want to make this clear, family. This is going to be the last video I do on this. So I want to make this clear, but I need to give clarity, because why? We've been quiet for over a year. So that's right. We have something to say. And this is not to justify myself to those people, but this is for our community, right? Because whenever something happened, what happens? They want to bring it up. Oh, what about Richard Katz? Well, let's talk about that. I'm going to take that off the table, and I'm going to show you why. Because during that time when they asked us, say, hey, we need to get linguists involved in this. Why don't we just reach out to, why don't the Hebrew community reach out to linguists, even though the church already did that? So what happened? Bishop Brown began to email a ton of universities, right? A ton of them universities. Right. And so I was going to drop a video, right, showing my letter by letter translation of the pews. Right. So he got contacted by one of the professors by the name of David Bunis. And the rest is history. You guys saw the video when he revealed to me, Sister E, Benaiah Israel, the Tail Ministries, Dante, revealed to us on live, and it's still posted on his channel. He revealed to us his interaction with David Bunis and what he had said. And I'm going to share that with you guys, just so that way you guys understand. But then what ended up happening, they began to bully this professor. And I'm going to show you how he changed his stance, all because of someone, and I'm going to show you that email, a refresher, an email of one of the Christian guys that had reached out and said, hey, do you know that one of the guys, for example, mentioned Maury Brown, didn't realize David Bunis was going to tell Maury Brown and include him on that, but to say that, hey, he's part of the Hebrew Israelites, like you supported Hebrew Israelites, and they spooked the professor. They contacted his university and began to call and harass him that way, right? And then, of course, the good guy, the good cop, bad cop, even though they both on the same side, right? So then this is where one of the other apologists, right, who was trying to say that there's Arabic on the pews, or if it's not Arabic, it's no legible writing. It's just chicken scratch. And I still got some to post from that, but I'm just didn't have time to go through that. So it was going to be Arabic, or it was just children scribble scrabble, right? So let me share with you, and let me see here. Let me pull up that particular PowerPoint, right? Right? And matter of fact, before I get to there, I'll set the tone because I want to eliminate something right now. And thanks again, Brother Baran, for you know, being the bigger person, even among those that are part of the community, so to speak. It's not an easy thing to try to go against the grain when you're dealing with your own people. And so I want to give them shout outs again for taking the high road and encouraging those people to stay clear of the church. But again, unfortunately, some didn't listen. So they decided to contact or try to search down one of the professors. They began to put a lot of foolishness out there about the professor, and I'll just say his name because they already put it out there, Yosef, trying to say, hey, he doesn't know Arabic. He's a sociolinguist. Started throwing shade on him, thus proving, right, because we didn't put his information out there. We covered up his name. We did all of that, but they constantly did all this other stuff and then wanted to brag, kind of like the lynch mob, right? Lynch mob behavior, herd behavior, picks and forks. So they located this person and put his personal information out there. Why is that dangerous? See, he's a professor, right? He's a professor. You playing with someone's reputation. See, you're not touching my livelihood, right? All that craziness, all the stuff that they did, the channel didn't shrink, but it doubled. My income haven't been touched, actually, promotions, right? You know, you're not putting money in my pocket or taking money out of my pocket. Our ministry continued to grow, right? So, and actually we're getting ready to have one of the upcoming ministers do his initial sermon this Shabbat. So it's all good here, right? So all the stuff that you did, it did nothing, but it just helped rally your circle, right? It rallied your circle. So why am I saying all of this? They decided to go and put this man's personal information, like they went on a witch hunt trying to search for Professor Katz. They went on this witch hunt and began to what? Show the man's personal information, going through his university information. But let you, now that you did that, right? Because we actually did Bishop Brown did an interview with him privately to almost 100 people. So what I did was when I did the video, right, the clips of it, I made sure that I kept his face out of it. I made sure that we changed his name and all that, so that way it make it hard for anyone to try to search him, because I didn't want him to go through what Professor Bunis went through and Professor Katz went through. Okay, so with that being said, right, I'm going to let, right, Professor Yusef defend himself and give you his background, because these people decided to try to question and slander him, because these guys gonna mess around. Professor Yusef get a whiff of that, what these guys are doing. Now you're going to deal with some fire, right? So be careful, guys. Hey, for me, my lawyers was like, hey, you guys have no influence. But if he gets wind that you're tampering with his reputation, you may not respond the same way that I responded, because I was ready. But you're dealing with a professor and reputation, and when they go to social media and see this stuff, if he pull up his name and that comes up, oh gosh, you gotta answer for that. So let me let you hear the reputation of Professor Yusef. Let me let him explain it in his own words. So I'm going to go ahead and let him give his bio and let him shut down this notion that he's not a specialist in Arabic. He don't know Arabic and all this other stuff that these individuals decided to run with. So let's start with him. Let me let him give his bio. Here we go.
And whatnot. So let's see. Mr. Yusef Sahi is a lecturer of Arabic He received his BA in sociolinguistics from Hassan II University in Casablanca, Morocco, and his MA in humanities with a concentration in linguistics from the University of Louisville in Kentucky. Prior to arriving at Georgia Southern University, Mr. Sahi held full-time position at Eckerd College and at the University of Tampa. Mr. Yusuf Sahi's area of interest ranged from Arabic language and literature, and gender, code switching, and comparative literature. You want to kind of get into that, Professor, those areas of field of work and that you worked as far as literature, language, gender, code switching. Many may not understand what that is, and so I want to allow you to share what that would be in those areas.
Now, family, I'm going to let him give it himself, because now Professor Youssef is going to give an exact breakdown of what, for example, a social linguistic linguist is. So let's listen to what Professor Youssef say and how he articulate his bio to give proper clarity. And let's see if it lines up with some of these guys that are out here that is pushing a lot of this foolishness, to show you just how desperate people are to try to do what? Throw shade on this awakening, and so hard to want to establish a name for themselves. You know, people that are I'm just surprised. I'm baffled. Like, why would they even go this route? Why? You know, that I thought, had integrity, but now decided to team up with the very people that have been coming against our community and mocking it. So let's hear Professor Youssef, and you listen for yourself, and you make a note of it, family, and tell me what you hear. Right, here we go.
Sure. Well, again, thank you, Mr. William, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be with you today and be with your group as well. And I hope now my conversation with you will be beneficial to you and to your friends and group members. Thank you again for reading the short bio. As you mentioned, I was born and raised in Casablanca, Morocco. Did my undergraduate studies there, and came to the United States in 1999 to finish my graduate studies, and I got my master's at the University of Louisville, Kentucky. In Morocco, I studied sociolinguistics, which is the study of language and its impact on society, and the study of the society and its impact on language. And also studied language and gender, especially the use of gender and politeness vis-a-vis, male and female, especially in Arabic societies. Male and female, especially in Arabic societies and Western societies. And also did my studies also in code switching, which is the changing of codes based on the changing of the environment, or the changing of the people you are talking to. So my study was mostly focused in Moroccan society, and how Moroccan people code switch from one language to another based on the situation that they are in, or based on the people that they are talking to, either their age, their status, or their gender. And of course, as you mentioned, when I came here, I did my master's degree in sociolinguistics as well, and started my journey teaching Arabic, after September 11, and started teaching at the University of at Eckerd College in Florida, and at the same time, or a year later, started teaching as well in University of Tampa. Both of them are private colleges, and Eckerd College is one of the few liberal colleges in Florida. And in 2012, I was offered a job at the University of Louisville, University of Georgia Southern, to kind of start their Arabic program because of my experience in starting Arabic programs in those previous universities. Start their Arabic program because of my experience in starting Arabic programs in those previous universities. Start their Arabic program because of my experience in starting Arabic programs in those previous universities.
All right, so far, he makes it clear, right, about what a social, right, linguist is, right? And he concentrated on the area of what? Arabic. He made it clear that he started and established Arabic programs at not one, but multiple universities. But yet these guys, so desperate to want to debunk and debate, right? Debunk and debate, right? Try to, because they don't understand what a social linguist is, and there is different areas to it. So his concentration was on in Arabic. So since we are on that, let me bring up what a social linguist is. I'm not going to get into anthropology yet, but let me show you what a social linguistic is, or a social linguist is. Let's see what it says. Social linguistics. This is coming from the Cambridge Dictionary of Linguistics. The study of language in society, the way it is used, and the effects it has on hearers and speakers, right? It tells us to go see, in this definition, in this dictionary, it tells you to go to like the definition for social network, right? Social linguistic, variable, socio-programmatic norms, right? So it gives the sources of where to go to, or the references, the terms to go even further with that, right? But as you see, as you heard, he established programs, and his concentration was in what? Arabic, right? And let me share with you more, because of course he was born where? In Morocco, right? So he started his studies where? In Morocco. He began his graduate degree in Morocco and continued on once he got to the States. But let me give you even more clarity. Let's let him speak for himself. Let's let him give clarity on his resume, right? Not just what you see on the website, but he's actually expounding and giving clarity on his background. So let's listen to some additional information about his past. And how dare these people say that he's not qualified? He's more than qualified. But let's hear him.
So this journey for you has pretty much been from the time you came out of the womb, from birth. Were you in the town that you grew up in? Was it an Arab speaking town, or did you speak Arabic there?
So talking about Morocco, Morocco kind of is a multilingual society, very diverse in its geography and its history, and also its people and the languages they speak. So I was born, or I'm what we call in the West a Berber, but what the word that we use in North Africa and in Morocco is in particular is Amazigh. So I'm an Amazigh, native of North Africa. My parents are both from two different Amazigh tribes. So being born in Morocco, the first language was Amazigh, which we spoke in the house, but also Arabic, because both my parents spoke Arabic. So Amazigh and Arabic were both two languages that we spoke in the house. Add to that, my father was a kind of a francophone and did his study in French. And Morocco, the official language is, of course, Arabic and Berber, but French plays a dominant part in the society. So growing up, I spoke all these three languages from early age: Amazigh, Arabic, and French. Of course, each has its own, kind of situation. Each was spoken in an environment and with a goal. But I can say that I'm fluent in all three of them because I started learning them from an early age.
So as a child, right, from the womb, you started learning three languages. And Arabic is the primary language in Morocco. Amazigh is one of the languages he mentioned, Arabic and French. But he mastered three languages. He says he's proficient in all three languages. But he didn't just stop there, right? He got his undergrad in Arabic, right? And then he began grad school, right? Dealing with Arabic, right? And came to the States and continued on and really began to go into the path of social linguistics, which is still concentrated in the area of, started in his community of Morocco. And, now today, as he navigated from there to the States, we see that Arabic is his background. So sociolinguistics, this is the study of language in society. What society did he start off with? He started off in the society of Morocco. In Morocco. So how is it? And want to say shout outs to my my cousin. I put the link inside the chat if you want to join in. So how is it that these guys, so desperate to make a name for themselves, so desperate to throw shade, so desperate to try to create a narrative, because it sounds good when, hey, you know what, they created secret scholars. Oh, you know what, they they have a tendency of trying to reach out to scholars that are lying about what scholars said and what they didn't say, which is absolutely false. They're the ones that contacted every person that we presented and got mad because we decided that we are not going to share names publicly. We're going to make sure to do all we can to protect these scholars because they have livelihoods. We didn't pay them for anything. They took their hard-earned time and resources to to respond to our emails. We have a ton of emails that was sent out. So let me bring Bishop Brown in. Hey, Bishop, let me adjust this screen here there we go. So I'm not sure what we did so far. So I was bringing the people up to speed about the tendency of them trying to slander or throw shade on whatever we bring to the table, whether it be DNA. And I was sharing with them how years ago, how me and you were challenged about DNA from like Bishop Nathan and those guys. And once we did the DNA, that's how we realized that, found out we were cousins, and how our DNA said literally that we're Jewish. So then the goalpost got moved because not only did we have one, we have multiple sources. Like remember DNA Tribes who got bought out and shut down, gave us what, a 28-page detailed word line by line telling us who we are, right? So the goalpost kept moving, and I reiterated what happened last night, what you brought out last night about them lying about how you were using DNA for your assembly and all this other crazy stuff. And there was actually another ministry that was actually doing that. That was in further south of Florida that had a similar name, and no apologies. And they've continuously done all kinds of crazy stuff with no apologies. So where we are now, I explained to the people how even Brother Baran made it clear. Hey, look, don't try to contact these people, leave them alone, leave the church alone. But yet you still have individuals contacting Professor Youssef, or at least finding out who he is and posting his personal information all over social media. as if it's a badge of honor that they located someone, and then they try to say, hey, he's a sociolinguist, so he knows nothing about Arabic. He's not a special. He's not specialized in that area. So I let them hear what he said about his background of being born and raised in Morocco, being born and raised speaking not one language, not two languages, but three languages, which Arabic is what? The main language of Morocco. And not only did he share that he also went to school for his undergrad in Arabic studies, right? And then he, his master, he began to go into the route of social linguistics, as I put up on the screen, the study of language in society. He was focusing on what? Morocco. And then when he came to the States, he continued on and began to, in his own words, build Arabic programs at different universities.
That's right.
So what they just got finished hearing is him bearing witness for himself of what his background is, to completely knock down all this foolishness of these people out here with undeveloped egos trying to harass this person and slander this person and don't even realize what they're setting themselves up for, because this is his livelihood. Yeah. So did you want to elaborate on that real quick? After you go into the other professors.
I saw the video from the beginning when you played Professor Joseph, and he and I interview, and there was definitely a large group of people who was watching during that interview. After all this stuff came out with Cat. So I said, from this point on, I created a private group and put a whole lot of brews in there, so that way they can see for themselves, that everyone from this point is a real person. And we anticipated that they were going to eventually try to hunt down, whether successful or not, Professor Joseph. That's why, remember, because after we done the video, it was purposely edited a certain kind of way. We changed his name on purpose. We didn't give his all of that stuff, because we knew that they were going to try their best to hunt him down and whatnot, and try to get to him, to question him, or whatever they were going to try to do. And like they're doing now, try to discredit him, and saying that he doesn't have the knowledge. So in this video, that the fullness of the interview, everybody who was in that group who saw it live, they were able to see that. But for YouTube purposes, we edited down to maybe 30 minutes or something like that, 40 minutes of information, and we didn't share the things of him speaking personally about a lot of his credentials, his expertise and knowledge and things like that. We played certain clips because we anticipated, so just in case it would happen, we would have the fullness of the video to be able to play like you're doing now, bringing this information out. So we learned some things from how they play, and so we purposely made sure that we kept some things in the holster just in case we have to pull some things out later on.
Absolutely, you hit that right on the nail. And
say this, I'm sorry, but because nobody knew, even the people right now, Professor Joseph is not that far from First African Baptist Church. He's not that far. He's literally up the street. So for people talking, they now, because the information put out there, maybe what school, the school and all that type of stuff, and his information was put out there, but he's literally up the street. And so people better wisen up, and just because and he's on social media, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. He's on social media, and there's some things sometimes, birds fly and birds deliver information. So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
And to that point, family, this is not something to be played with. This is not a game, and again, I shared my reasoning for why, we decided, I decided not to move forward with my lawyer. And my cousin will tell you, I moved forward. You know what I mean? And the lawyer told me, like, hey, these guys have no influence, right? Say that I'm wasting my money on them. But the difference is this, the ministry is not my livelihood. I don't get paid for having a ministry. But when you start getting into someone that, like a Professor Youssef, and he's a professor, he's a teacher, and you start going out. I mean, they start, putting stuff out there to challenge his knowledge base, to challenge his legitimacy as being an instructor. Now you're dealing with something completely different. Now you're dealing with somebody's reputation, right? And so that actually, is depending on this as his livelihood, right? So that's one of the things I just want to highlight and want to get your thoughts on that as well. And then what we're going to do is once we elaborate on that, we're going to touch on Professor Bunis. I'm not going to say his name. Professor B. I'll just call him Professor B.
Yeah.
Because he did make it a point to not want to be included in the discussion, and I don't want to disrespect him by including him in the discussion from that perspective, right? So, but I do want to highlight something that that was brushed over from those other communities of what transpired. So, anything you want to share, Cuz?
No, I was going to say, it's a difference in if it's professor to professor. If there was another professor that was, saying that or trying to, first of all, other professors would not be doing and handling things the way most of these guys who, try to promote themselves as being scholars on the internet. It's just like pastors. Pastors don't should not act a certain kind of way as someone who is not mature. So a pastor and another pastor deals with things differently than a pastor, maybe someone that's a lay member. Now, a lay member should act with character or act with integrity, or shouldn't act a fool, because they're a believer. You shouldn't. But at the same time, pastors interact with pastors differently. So scholars would interact with scholars differently with each other. You wouldn't have a scholar out here trying to tear down or say this particular scholar isn't qualified, and it just wouldn't be handled. It'd be handled differently. So when you see that, it's a difference in if it's two scholars that are talking, or someone that maybe have a deeper education than another one. They still don't handle certain things that way. But somebody who's or just on the street, trying to say certain things about someone who's an educator and is tied to a particular university and is the face of the university's department, that's a different kind of situation, especially if it's a situation where it involves them being put over the internet as not being qualified. So now when you have that, you turn around and you have someone who's maybe attending to that school and may end up just Googling or YouTubing that person's name to take the class, and this video pops up showing him teaching in a class, showing his name being mentioned, showing the university, oh, he's not qualified to do this and do that. That could have started affecting business when you start talking about a university and a professor isn't qualified for a certain area. So it's a touchy situation. And I wouldn't, tread those roads of doing that, even though we didn't agree with, maybe Professor Joseph Kahn in his, analysis or statement of what he tried to say about the surah that was given to him. We never contacted him. We never even came online to discredit his credibility or his credentials. That's not what we did. Why? Because as pastors, we understand there's a certain kind of way. And anyone that works in corporate America or anybody that's in a higher level of in a higher position, even within corporate America, is certain things that you don't do. And so we didn't even come after Khan. We didn't even put his name out there. We didn't do any of that. That was what they presented. So, okay, cool. Well, we'll go get our people, or we'll get people that work that we'll present the information that they have, but we never went after either of their people. But it seems like every time we put somebody out, here they come after ours. So let's look at it here. We didn't come after theirs. We just went and got some others. But instead of them going to get others, when we rebut, they come after ours. That says a lot. And cuz go ahead. I know you got some more stuff you want to put up.
Oh no, you good. I'm doing something real quick. So if you want to continue, I want to kind of, because I'm going to show a slide here, going back to the Professor B situation, and I just want to make sure. Man, my mouse is acting up. I want to make sure that the information that I present is covered. You know what I mean. That I'm protecting them, doing some cover up real quick. So if you could give me just one quick minute, I want to
that's cool.
hide this person's name. That one of the individuals from the Christian apologist community, and I just want to still not stoop to the level that these guys stoop to in regards to how they went after the professors that we brought to the table. So I still want to, you know what I mean? I'm just kind of covering up the information just so that way, we're practicing what we're preaching.
Yeah.
Because even though, we can go there, but I just want to make sure that, we're not stupid to the level that these guys have stooped to when it came to trying to embarrass us and trying to make up all kinds of stuff. So I'm just kind of scrubbing it a little bit, just so that way that person can't say that we threw them under the bus.
Yeah.
So I went on and scrubbed it. So let's start with the Professor B, right? Let's start with him, and the initial response that he. Matter of fact, actually, I'm going to start with this person since I have it in the order. And family, I'm going to bring this up on the screen. Let me see if it's there. I want to bring this up on the screen so that way you guys can see exactly what we see, and that way we kind of walk you through, right? This right here, right? This information that's here, and I've purposely covered up the name of this individual. This individual contacted Professor Bunis, right? Professor B, rather, excuse me, right? And Bishop could give more information, but he contacted Professor B, questioning his interaction with Bishop Majors, and made it a point to touch on his background or bring up Hebrew Israelite, right? So Professor B got his email was getting bombarded by a number of people harassing him about his stance on the pews, right? So this right here, right? And when I did my research and my due diligence on this individual that brought that up, this is where I found out where he works at. Found out that this person served in the military, had a great career, had a great career. So his behavior was basically contrary to what you would research and find out about this person. So the other thing, this is the social media page. I just purposely covered up the face so that way you won't be able to see who's who, right? But nevertheless, it's their social media page. And what was interesting on their social media page is the fact that I noticed the UA community, right? You see Bishop Mason, right? And some of the other people that Isaiah Robertson, you see some of the other ones. I'll just highlight some of the names so you can see the connections. Like, wow, wasn't surprising to see all of this. These are some of the people that was connected at that time. I can't tell you what their status is today, but during that time, these are some of the people that's connected to all of that, to this person, right? So now, this is the email right here, right? And this is, I believe this is your initial image that you sent. Email that you sent. Let me see here. Let me make sure. Oh no, this is from that person. Yeah, this is from that person. So this is what they wrote to him. Shalom and good evening, sir. I do not wish to take up much time. I would just like to confirm that what is being said in this YouTube video, I will attach the YouTube link and screenshot, is indeed your response. It is being translated in conversation that you indeed confirm that the script on the pews of the First African Baptist Church in Savannah, Georgia is Sola Trail. I did not personally gather that as your response from what was shown in the video. I noticed Israel written in Aramaic block script and not in Sola Trail script in your alleged response. So I felt it best to ask you directly if any of this is true. No, actually, this is someone that chimed in and said that they didn't see Sola Trail, but this is another scholar, right? Said, but what they saw was Israel written in Aramaic.
That's right.
So this is not that person. This is another scholar that chimed in and was asking like, hey, I didn't see Sola Trail, but I do see Israel in Aramaic.
Either a scholar or someone that is familiar with the language.
Familiar with the language.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to remember. But I was actually in that email. I was in that email chain, and so that person said that he saw Aramaic and saw Israel written in Aramaic on the pews, which is the church has Aramaic on there now because they already had a scholar of Aramaic to come and look at that.
Yeah, and so what you see on the screen, right? This is Professor B, who followed up, right? The dates are still there, who followed up with Bishop Brown and said, thanks for this new look at the characters, right? Looking at it, that say, it seems to me that you can also see Israel. That is Israel. Best wishes, Professor D. Now, does this sound like he's disagreeing, or does it sound like he's agreeing even with the person that chimed in his thread that was included in his thread? This doesn't sound like anywhere. I don't gather that. You can't take this as Bishop Brown was taking somebody's words out of context, because it's clear as day that he's making it clear that that's what's on the pews. And did you want to elaborate on that?
I didn't bring up to Professor B. I didn't bring up to him, anything about Israel. I didn't bring that up to him. When you look at that email chain, I didn't bring it up to him. What I did was I just sent him the image of what Benaiah did and said, hey, there's someone that did their own due diligence. I didn't want him to I didn't mention Benaiah's name because I didn't want to even him know that I was connected in any kind of way. I wanted to be honest. So I didn't say, hey, this guy I know, we're buddies or we real close and he did this. I didn't want to do that. I just said, hey, somebody else, presented this. What do you think? And then when I sent it to him, he turns around and sent me an email back and says, thanks for the new look at the characters. Looking at it, it seems to me. Now, this is his own opinion. I'm not asking him anything about Israel. You can also, in addition to what I sent to him about Benaiah, also means in addition to him. Anybody in the chat, what does also mean? Just because so we can get the people involved. I'm not the smartest man in the room, but if somebody sends you something, you say also, that means you're adding to what somebody's already presented, and you add your thing to it. Hey, y'all didn't see this, but this is what I see. So also to what you see, I see something else as well. And that was what he said. So when I said that there was a validation, it was based off because he said what he can also see. To him, that's what he said. He's the scholar, not me. So he says also, you can see. So if I'm not mistaken, y'all can tell me in the chat if I'm wrong, but also also is a addition to. That's because what your thoughts is on that.
It's definitely an addition too, because that's also what you shared in the video when you broke the emails to us when we had that live. You know, that's not anything to say that he's taken anything out of context. You know, I think when you initially read it in the initial video, correct me if I'm wrong, initially we didn't pay attention that it was someone else chiming in.
Right.
Until we went back over and actually paid attention to what was being said. That wait a minute, this is another person saying that they didn't see Solar Trail, but they saw Israel.
They saw Aramaic. They saw Israel. They saw Israel in Aramaic, and then Bunis comes back, and based off Solar Trail, he says you can see Israel also not from Aramaic, because he's not an Aramaic specialist. That's not his area. His area is Ladino or Solatreo. So he says you can also see Israel, because why? Because it was based on what I sent him, based on what Benea had. And so when he looked at it, he's commenting and giving his analysis. What seems to him is in Solatreo. So that was all it was. So I'm saying, hey, okay, this is what he says. He says in addition to. And then it kind of went like that. They took it, and after all this went down, and that one guy who emailed who you gonna get into, I think that's when things started flipping and like, well, I thought I said, well, let me not get ahead of it, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'm just doing something real quick because I didn't realize I didn't put that here, so I'm doing it right now. I'm cutting some emails in here and kind of like covering them up just to make sure that they're protected. But if you wanted to share a little bit more, just to make sure I got this covered while I do this here, I thought I had everything in order, but you know how it goes. You always miss something, but I'm just trying to make sure that I'm protecting David, Professor B's information. And also, people pay attention to the dates of the emails, because this gives you an idea of when everything was, all of this is during the same time when, as we pointed out, that Bishop Brown sent out, a ton of emails. So I want to make sure that I think I have them covered. Matter of fact, let me cover this last person, the person that I mentioned that shared something that was kind of foul. Not kind of, it was foul. Very deceptive and really despicable. So let me go ahead and do this again. I think I have it done, and I'm gonna bring it on the screen. I crossed out the person's name, but I want you guys to pay attention, family, to see exactly what this person said, that really sent the professor away. All right, so now that we have that, let's start with, I'm gonna show Professor B's response that came out of the clear blue that caught you off guard. Here it is, right? And this is what you received from him. It says, the aftermath of our correspondence is a bit amazing to me. It really shows just how much interest there is in the inscription, and how people with all kinds of agendas seem to be trying to use what they read out of the inscription to their own advantage. This was not the sense I got when I first read your original email. It goes on to say, but if it's possible, please do not continue to cite me as a supporting source, because I really have no definite idea what the inscription says, or in which, if any, alphabet is written. I hope you're not offended by this request. Best wishes, Professor D. All right. So did you want me to go ahead and just go to the next one, or you want to just elaborate on that?
No, I mean, if you go back go back one slide to when he first emailed me back, after it was when he first emailed me. It was one slide back. No.
I think this is this one right here. Yeah.
Go back. Go forward. One more.
I think I got him out of whack, man. Russian here.
Okay. But no, I guess I'll elaborate, I guess, on what he was saying. When he first emailed me after, the whole email thing, and he said what um, he said that, um, hold on, let's see here. Trying to see if you pull it up, if it comes up.
Now I could pull up the original presentation.
No, that's it right there. That's it right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
That's it right there. So he says, "Hi, William. The aftermath of our correspondence is a bit amazing to me." So think about this now. We had a cool, calm, cordial conversation. I'm emailing him. He's looking at it, checking it out. Everything cool. No problem. All of a sudden, I do a video, put his information out there, which should have never did that. But I thought I was dealing with some folks. That's neither here nor there now. So he emails me back because he doesn't, based off of what the bombardment of things, he says it's amazing to him. It really shows just how much interest. Stop right there. I was the only one that contacted him. So there was not a lot of emails. You didn't email him. Renea didn't email him. Nobody but me emailed him. So where did all the interest come from? All the interest came from the aftermath of people bombarding him in his emails, like the other email that we're going to show. But if there was no bombardment of the emails, he would have still been cool. Everything would have been straight. But then he says the interest is in the inscriptions and how people, he's not talking about people, is plural, and how people. Professor B had talked to me several times. If it was a situation where I offended him, and from my position, he clearly could have emailed me and say, "Hey, William, you know what? You offended me. You didn't tell me this, or this, that, and the third." It would have been personal to me. But he emailed me about the other people emailing him. That's why he says how people with all kinds of various agendas, seems to be trying to use what they read out of the inscription to their own advantage, to their own. He's talking about other people. He's talking to me about other people, their agenda. He didn't say your agenda. He said their agenda. That's why he came out here. He says, that was not the sense I got when I first read your. Now he's referring to me. Original email. Why? Because there was no hoopla. I didn't come to him with any type of confusion, any type of foolishness. I came to him asking his honest opinion. Now he's referring to me because when I first emailed him and through our correspondence, it was very cordial. It was not aggressive. It was not hostile. It wasn't any of that. He didn't even know I was an Israelite. None of that. He didn't know my background. He didn't know any of that. It was other people that made it known about my background. That's where all the other people came from. I didn't tell him nothing about, I didn't even tell him about my connection to the church.
Exactly.
In Savannah. I just told him, I said, hey, there's this church that has these inscriptions on the pews. I kept it straight as though I'm just a regular Joe Blow. I don't even know the people at the church. I don't have no ties to it. I sent it to him because I did not want to sway him in any kind of way. I wanted him to have an honest assessment, to see it for himself and make his own assessment. So I didn't tell him anything about my connection, me being an Israelite, or any of that stuff. I kept it straight honest. They was the ones, the people, the agenda, their agenda, and all these people, they was the one who let him know everything about the Israelite and all that other type of stuff. But that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to just elaborate on that.
Okay. I'm doing something real quick. I got the email from the what's his name? I'm not going to mention his name, but I want to do something real quick because I thought I had it in order, but apparently I didn't. So I want to take that. I'm going to blot out his name real quick. The one of the emails that was in that thread of someone that was connected to that community, as we pointed out, that supposedly was concerned, you know what I mean, about the interaction. Now, this person took it upon himself, as I pointed out, was part of that community, and decided to contact the professor. All right, so let me see here. I'm just blotting out the person name real quick. And matter of fact, I'm going to just, man, this mouse is not doing what I wanted to do. All right, let's see this. All right, none. All right, I think I have that one. I tried to do the best I could, man. You know, to blurt it out. You know what I mean, just to show that we do have integrity. So, family, you know, forgive me if I missed a few things, but it's not done intentionally. Let me just go ahead and do one more thing. I got that covered there. One more area, cousin. I'll show the guy that we're referring to. I just want to make sure that this person's information is not on display. All right, I think I did it. Here we go. So nobody reach out to this person as well. You know what I mean? Don't want that to happen. And family, pay attention. We still in that the end of November, December time frame. And that's the time where Bishop Brown sent like a ton of emails out in regards to the professors. He sent out like a ton of emails to them, inquiring, getting clarity on the pews. And as he pointed out, he didn't give any background of himself or anything. So here we go, cuz I have it up here now. I'm going to bring it up here. And family, this is what was said. All right, let me go straight to it. Let's see. All right. No, that's your apology. So let me go back here. What is this? It? Man, I did it again. Oh, this is your apology. Where is it? Where is it? What, slide 21? Let me go to slide 21. All right, here it is. Here it is. All right. This person responded by saying that they are an educator at a school in VA, but nevertheless, this person goes on to say, former students who identify with such group as the moderate Hebrew Israelites and family, y'all know that's a red flag. Do you see that?
Red flag.
Red
Moderate.
flag. Somebody that's a school teacher, right? Sent this to Professor Bunis, and it was one of many that he got from this community, this group. Former student who identified with such group as the moderate Hebrew Israelites, who has used your name and credentials to deduce that since Hebrew language was written on the pews by Black slaves, therefore Blacks who came by way of the transatlantic slave trade are the true Jews. And notice they put Jews in all caps. So family, this is what caused them to change. It's one of many responses that Bishop shared when he started dealing with agendas. And he said, "Here, I will reach out to you directly. As far as you were concerned, the presenter used your commentary and scholarship as their source and authority to conclude that there was one word that could possibly have been written in Hebrew, and that the script was sola traded." Anything you want to say out, cuz?
Because if he was truly really about trying to get an answer from Professor Bunis, an honest answer about whatever assessment that he had, he would have just simply said, "Hey, I saw," like the first guy. The first guy said, "Hey, I saw the video and I saw Aramaic, so I'm just contacting you to see if if just to get a full understanding because I didn't think I see Solo Trail. I saw Israel in Aramaic." That's what the first guy said. Why? Because he's an honest guy. He's trying to get an honest assessment. This dude started going down about a moderate Hebrew Israelite. I believe I'm the true Jews, which means that Professor B is not a real Jew.
Exactly.
So he's speaking cold language to him to say, "Hey, you affiliate with this radical." He didn't have to say radical group. All he had to do was say what he said. They believe that they're the true Jews, which means in default, you're not Professor B. And so this where all this type of stuff kind of, he didn't even ask that he used your credentials to say this and say that. He didn't come to him and say, "Hey, I saw this video and I was just really trying to get an understanding to make sure that what was being sought, what you said was true." That's all he had to say. But he didn't do that. Why? Because he was sent with the agenda to muddy the water, make it bad, to discredit me, to discredit everybody that was connected to us in that video, because it was never about the truth of information. He was sent to straight up discredit, to bring fear in the man of who he's connected with. And that's when it went from there. That's when I got the email saying, all what was said. I don't want to be connected to that. I don't want to be tied to that. So when he says that, as a pastor, I initially know, okay, hey man, respect. This is what this man said. That's just like somebody coming to me and saying, "Hey, you having a counseling session and you tell them this is confidential. I don't want this to be repeated." Well, it's no different than that. It's like if we're on the streets and somebody on the street, "Hey, look, we're gonna make this deal. If you get caught, hey, don't rat on me." People don't know how to keep their word about things. So therefore, at the end of the day, I'm a man of my word. If I tell you I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you I'm gonna do something that I'm not. I don't tell people, "Well, you know what, man, I get with you later and see if I can." No, even in the ministry to this day, people ask me to come somewhere, speak, or ask me, "Will we come and support?" I tell them straight up, "Let me get back with you before I make a decision." And then I say, "Yes, we're coming." And we come when I say, "Yes, we're coming." Unless it's something, a car, tire flat, whatever it is. But majority of the time, anybody can tell you our word is our bond, and I teach our ministry. Don't tell people something that you're not going to do. If you can't make it, say you can't make it. It's the same thing with this. When he said he didn't want to be involved, I never mentioned his name never again. And that's the thing that people fail to realize. And but yeah, man, that's what it was in that email. You see exactly what was being said. You see exactly what's being said in this email. It was never about trying to get the truth of what his statement was. It was about discrediting, and then had the nerve to use moderate. Now that was the major red flag.
Well,
that this is UA activity.
And see, the key though is at this point he still was he forwarded this to you because you would have known.
No,
right? He kept you in the loop.
Yes, yeah. He made sure I was in that. Yep.
He made sure you was in the loop. And then even with the other guy that sent him an email, Bunis forwarded that to you, right? So at that time, he didn't feel threatened by that person that's agreeing. Say, hey, he didn't see, Solatreo, but he saw Aramaic and he saw Israel. But he still presented himself as what, friendly. He mentioned the video that he saw the video or whatever, but he didn't present any negative overtones to it.
No, right? He didn't. Nope, he didn't.
When we see here, we see this person right here is flooded with red flags. And as I shared earlier, his connection with some of those from the apologist groups, right? And so this right here is a red flag. Even for them to feel the need to reach out in this capacity, and hey, if they were to ask questions, that's up to them. But I would have done that. We didn't do that even with their stuff they presented. The very few things that they shared. We didn't go running behind trying to contact the two professors or whatever. So, but that's what I want to share here. And you also
hold on, cuz before we move. This is dirty. Let me share, because this is how dirty. I can't let this go by. This is dirty, and let me show you how dirty it is. He brought the kids into it, cuz. Look at what it says. Former students who identify. Matter of fact, this same guy, and I got the email, and I don't know if it's in that thread, but this same guy ended up, after all this was over, after Professor B said what he said, this same guy issues me an apology and said, "Well, I thought you were connected, and you know what, man?" Then he started asking me doctrinal questions about, other nations and all these other things and stuff. And then he turns around and says, "Well, I may have to have you come speak to the kids because I thought that you would." That whole false foolishness. But this was dirty. He added the kids in this. Now, anybody know, man, when you add kids or students or young teenagers or whoever to a situation like this, being connected with such group. Like, look at the wordplay. With such groups as hate groups. That's basically what he's saying. That you shouldn't be connected to them. And I'm concerned about the children being connected. Man, you start bringing the kids involved, man, people flip quick. Exactly. You bring the kids involved? Come on, but that was straight up dirty to throw the kids in there.
Yeah,
the first guy. Go ahead, cuz. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and then the buzzword moderate Hebrew Israelites.
Yeah.
Right? It's only one group of people that these apologists refer to as modern Hebrew Israelites, moderate rather. They don't refer to the camps. They've been trying to make that label stick with you, myself, Sister E, Dante, Yacoba, Hebrew Nation. They tried to make that stick with us.
Right.
So to use that lets you know that this guy knew and others knew exactly who we are, and purposely used that phrase, moderate Hebrew Israelites, and then want to play on the words of identity. Like, hey, they're saying that you guys not the real people, they are. Right. And that's what it says right here. It says, therefore, blacks who came by way of the transatlantic slave trade are the true Jews. Well, I figured, like, hey, you ain't here for me, ain't the one of God. So, well, I figured I would reach out to you directly. As far as you were concerned, the presenters use your commentary and use your scholarship as their source and authority to conclude. So basically, it's saying this radical group that says that your people is not the real people, they are actually using your scholarly information to validate themselves with. That's what they're saying.
Yep. That's what they're saying. Shout out to Brother Tazarah in the chat, man. Shout out to Brother Tazarah in the chat. I see him in there. But yeah, man, that because that's exactly what they do. This, because earlier, we actually didn't really, with all the stuff going on, we actually really didn't really get a chance to like dissect the emails like that. But I'm glad Professor B kept me in the loop of this. That's why I said when he sent me that email, he's saying, hey, when I first talked to you, I didn't get this sense. But after the aftermath of all these people, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, hitting me up, I didn't know it was this important. That's basically what he's saying, because he's not in the loop of this. And then, like you just said, and you don't want to be attached to this because they're using your credentials to validate them being the true Jews and y'all are being the fake ones. That right there automatically. And that's why he said, I hope that you're not offended. Why? Because it was the foolishness. And guess what? Who am I? I don't do business with him. I don't have a retainer with him. I don't have no type of agreement or anything with him. He don't know me. I'm just some Joe Blow that emailed him about some pictures with several photos of some inscriptions on pews. He don't know what's going know anything. He don't even know me like that. So it's easier for him to say, "Hey, man, let me back up off of this. Hey, what you thought I saw, I really didn't see that." You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I don't want to be attached to this. This is crazy, and I can imagine probably some of the other emails that he got that he did not even get send to me or whatever. But I'm pretty sure his email was flooded. And if I had known that this would have happened, we would have did like Professor Yosef. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. But hey, these guys, they relentless. They remind me of the Romans, man. They relentless. They're gonna go to the ends of the earth, what I'm saying, to chase you down. So that's kind of how things went. But yeah, go ahead, cuz.
And then from there, family, we already addressed Professor Katz yesterday, but I wanted to show a timeline of some of the other professors during that time. And as Morey Brown pointed out, we pointed out yesterday, that same thing. Professor Katz, like, look, don't include me in this discussion, because he got emails as well. He got harassed as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that being said, what I wanted to do, right, because we got David Bunis, we got Professor Katz, right, and all of those emails is still in that timeline.
Professor Yosef too. We got
Yosef, Professor Yosef, and we hear them saying that they located Professor Yosef.
That's right. Yep.
Right. Don't know if they reached out to him as of yet, but they're trying to slander him. So I want to give you more information here of some of the other professors' response. I couldn't put a lot of them in, but I just want to give a few. Right. Here's another. Right. I took out the name because I don't want them to get harassed. Right. And this is during that same timeline, as you see here. Right. Actually, this is February 2021. This is like still within that timeline. This is like a month or two after, but still, this is all in that timeline because remember, some of the responses began to come in around the end of November, and they just kept trickling in all the way up to summertime of last year. They were still getting emails trickling in. So,
go ahead. After you, I want to show you something. But go ahead.
Okay, so right here, you guys see, I took the university information out of here, but they said, "Dear Will, thanks for the query. I cannot recognize this writing. It is not Arabic, and this is for someone. I ain't gonna put I took their information out, but guess what? Arabic language and literature. That's where they are. PhD, professor in this, but they made it clear." They don't see it's not Arabic, but these are multiple universities and I'll let you explain that portion of it as well. But these are multiple universities that are making it clear that they don't see Arabic. Right now, here's another one.
Wait a minute, cuz go back to that first email. Go back to that first email. I want to show you something, if you can.
Okay, this one right here.
Yeah, go back to the original, right, I guess one slide back. Yeah, right there. Notice in the subject line, I want people to see this. If they can see it in the subject line, you went back. You went back.
Let me see what you see.
Okay. Can you see the screen? Can you see the email?
Now I can see your screen. You see the email?
Yeah, I see the email.
Okay.
Now, notice in the subject line, everybody, y'all watching this, in the subject line, I lead off in the subject with ancient inscription on wood. Notice I'm not trying to sway them. I'm not trying to sway them. I'm not trying to say Hebrew found on the pews. I'm not trying to say Aramaic found on the pews. I'm not saying this is not Arabic. Can you verify? None of that. All my emails are very general. I'm not putting any footnotes in my email. I'm not doing any of that because I want these guys who are PhDs and specialists in the language to look at the wood and say what it is. If it's not, cool. If it is, cool. But all of these emails that you're showing, and I think I'm correct about this, All of them, yeah, all of them are Arabic PhDs or some form of professor. So here's the thing. They can tell me that it's not Arabic. Why? Because they know that I'm emailing them and their area of expertise is Arabic. So of course they're not going to say, well, it's not Hebrew. Why? Because I'm emailing an Arabic professor. And so I don't have to ask him, is it Arabic? I just say, hey, here's an ancient inscription that I found. Matter of fact, well, it's not on this one, but the response is thanks for the query. I cannot recognize this writing. It is not Arabic. And so if I'm honest in my approach, I should not have to give them any footnotes. I shouldn't have to turn around and even mention Arabic to them. When they see it, they should be able to identify. Go ahead, cuz that's all I want to say.
And even trying to send a superimposed image to try to manipulate them as well.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't put that one in there with a professor literally, basically was like two sentences or 2 words away from telling you off.
Yeah, he sure
the image of saying that, hey, well, what about this? And you sent them the image which is superimposed, trying to make it read Arabic, and that person said, well, what do you want me to say? It's not Arabic.
I sent him the original, and then he said it's not Arabic. Then I sent him back the superimposed from the other side, and I say, well, hey, can you look at this? What about this? He was almost one level from cussing me out. He was almost one step from cussing me out. Like, hey, I told you that it's not. I was like, okay, let me back off. And that was a white man. He wasn't Arab, and he's very decorated. So at the end of the day, I left it alone. We moved. I collected the email, and now all this time we got all these emails because we ain't saying nothing. We're not saying anything to the community. We're not putting out. We falling back, but fall back don't mean you ain't still working.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, cuz.
And here's another one, right? And this is still like to your point, right? What does it say? Ancient Semitic language in Georgia Church.
Yep.
Right.
And now that one. Yep. I changed it up.
But still, you still didn't put whether it's because Arabic is a Semitic language.
Right. Absolutely.
So it wasn't like whether it's Hebrew or Arabic. You just put this was in a, and look at it. Look at this is still what the response is during this time. The same timeline of the Richard Katz.
And
so
this
guy make people clear that all of these emails is in that timeline along with Richard Katz. Right.
Right. It's in the same timeline.
That's right. Notice what it says. Dear Will, I have examined the photos, and while they are evocative of Arabic script, they are neither classical Arabic nor the Marabi, okay, or Sudanic script that is common in West Africa, right? So they made it clear that it's not, right? So here's another one.
Now, and this guy, cuz they talk about Joseph Kahn. This guy is very decorated. He's on this pretty much on the same level. If we showed his information, he's on the same level, if not a notch up. The university where he is.
Yeah, now people what it says. He says the Aramaic, right? Because he forwarded to someone. He says the Aramaic alphabet, because if we go back to the background, it says here, I don't know any Hebrew specialist. This is very intriguing information. That's still part of that thread, but it's still during what? That same timeline, right? But notice what it says. He says the Aramaic alphabet evolved into cursive, devolved into cursives like Nabatean in the 1st century, which this resembles. But he says it's not his area of expertise, but he's still what? Dealing with what? Aramaic.
That's right.
He didn't say Arabic, Aramaic. But he says, so there you are, find an Aramaic specialist if you can. And that's the quote that you see behind here, right? So here, this is another professor, right? Yeah, they see Hebrew University, Jerusalem. I thought I took that out. But notice what this professor says, right? And this is as the emails were still trickling in. I cannot decipher the scratchings on the furniture of the church with any confidence. I can only offer a single suggestion for reading the sequence of letters in the first image you sent me. I can read. I can be, and that's the main pew that was in question. It can be
Right.
read hypothetically in modern Hebrew cursive script. This script was in use already in the medieval period. He goes on to say, this can be rendered into an English, not Hebrew text as any one of the following. So he was just giving some, some analogies of what it could possibly be, right? But notice what he says here, etc. As you notice, the letters look like a sequence of signs resembling cursive Hebrew script, but they appear to convey an English expression.
Oh my goodness! Listen,
This is a Hebrew linguist who is like one of the top in the world.
In Arabic, Aramaic,
in
and
Arabic,
Hebrew.
yeah. He puts here, as you notice, the letters look like a sequence of signs resembling Hebrew cursive script, but they appear to convey an English expression. I do not insist that this is the correct reading. It is at most a remote hypothesis. I cannot apply a similar guess to any of the other pieces of writing that you sent me. And the key here, family, we didn't give them like one of the things that most of these linguists kept asking was for more information on the church. And Bishop Brown didn't send them because he didn't want to manipulate them.
That's right.
So kept it simple. But he still said, hey, cursive Hebrew script, right, says some of these words is conveying what? English expressions. All right. So that's what I just want to. Did you want to elaborate on this, cuz? I know we.
I mean, it's. I mean, we can go all day. I mean, we don't have enough time with all the emails that we have. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and these are Aramaic scholars, Arabic scholars, and Hebrew scholars. So, and we even had some other ones that was scholars in Ajami, Farsi, what else? It was another language.
And that's what I want to play what Professor said about that, right? I'm gonna play that real quick. But we also had, and guess what? Remember, and I don't mind saying the name of the university because we don't have the email up. But remember, Oral Roberts said that they see Ge'ez on the pews.
That was definitive. That was definitive.
Definitive. Said they see Amharic on the pews from Oral Roberts.
Absolutely.
Right. So again, the purpose of this was, hey, as Bishop said, he sent emails to a ton of professors. And then get the consensus of what all of them said. And unanimously, not a single one came back and said that it was Arabic. Even with trying to force the issue by sending them to superimpose, they said it's not Arabic. They mentioned Aramaic. They mentioned even Ajami. They made a reference to that. But let me play something for you. And this is why, family, we don't need anyone. We don't need to make up something, because I'm going to share with you something that they haven't done to this day. I'm going to share with you what we been sharing for years. I mean, actually about a year and a half, right? That they still won't show on none of these platforms. That's why I label it that, hey, we don't need to make up professors. So that's why I want to share other professors, from that same timeline of Richard Katz. Then all the emails is part of that same group. All right. So, cuz, did you want to say anything before I show Professor Youssef's comments on the Ajami?
Nah, go ahead.
All right, let me show it real quick, family. And this is why I just want to do this video here. So this is Professor Youssef, right? Let's see what he says on Farsi.
Another professor told me, hey, this looks like Farsi, and so could you explain why would it, the comparative or comparing Farsi to Arabic, are there similarities or what?
They use they're similar in the alphabet, so they use the same alphabet, which is the Arabic alphabet. So Farsi uses the Arabic alphabet. Probably the reason why that person kind of advise you maybe, or to kind of ask you to maybe consider Farsi, is that he probably was able to see a letter there that looked like Arabic, but was not able to read the whole thing as Arabic. And therefore, if he's not familiar with Farsi, as I am, I don't know Farsi, I can read it,
Right.
I can read it, but with the, the exception of some few words that have Islamic background, I might not be able to tell you what the other words mean. So yeah, I can see why that other person told you it might be Farsi, because there was a letter that looks like Arabic, but him and me, we couldn't read it as Arabic. We couldn't read the whole word. So we're assuming, and I didn't assume that, but he's assuming that it's Farsi. For me, I still think that it was not Farsi, or it is not Farsi, or it's not even Ajami, as you emailed me in your question yesterday.
Yeah.
Because one of the characteristics of Arabic is the connecting letters, the letter connect to each other as we do with English in cursive, with few exceptions. There are 6 letters that don't connect to what comes after them. All the others connect to what comes before them and connect to what comes after them. And I noticed that some of those letters were not connected in the script that you sent me.
Okay, Professor, hold on. You're getting ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
But this is good. This is good because people are commenting and saying how good this is, and they're commenting. But I see David Royal, who I was telling you, the Hebrew linguist, he put Marabi in a fist pump.
Now you hear that?
I mean,
his own word. And remember, family, contrary to what these guys have been trying to do to discredit Professor Youssef, and you already see the pattern here, right? He made it clear and shared his reputation on being born and learning Arabic from a child to also going to school and becoming a social linguist concentrated in the Arabic community, and that he established Arabic programs for different universities. So that's him speaking. Who word do you take? You take some people that has a history of trying to throw shade on everything that we presented, or you take the words directly from someone that is a linguist. This is his area of profession, his area of study. Go ahead, Bishop.
Nah, I mean, man, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, the man even said, some of them letters, they may have had some connection, but the way Arabic connects is the same way English when you write me in cursive. I mean, it's like come on, man. I mean, it's just like it's really not too much to really explain. I mean, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, you don't need, like Benega said last night. I mean, you don't need a PhD. I mean, if you know basic Arabic, I mean, you don't need a PhD to know how Arabic connects. It's just like English. None of us, are English majors, but if someone, wrote if someone just wrote an English word and it wasn't cursive, and somebody trying to tell you that it's cursive, and you're like, nah, that ain't cursive because cursive letters connect. Like, you don't need to be a scholar to even know that. That's like the basics of cursive anything. So I mean, it's funny to me, man. It's lame. It's funny, and I mean, this is what we dealing with, So people want to be, they want to have some credibility. So I guess they want to be known. Why don't they go to school, man? Why don't they go to school and get a PhD or get a doctorate degree in the language versus trying to doggone, get some recognition on the streets? You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody out here in the streets recognizing nobody like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, And then to try to come after the man like, oh, well, he don't have no published work put out there. What does that? What he got a degree? Like everybody don't have to write a book for peer review, to be recognized in the field of their studies. Everybody's not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? And because I know you don't have it on the screen here in the email, but I think that I'm safe enough to give a shout out to this particular individual because he's been in our community. And I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but shout out to Professor Tudor Parfit.
That's right.
He sent it to his Arabic scholar
That's
who's
right.
on his team. So now go out. Folks you want us to say a name? Okay, Professor Dr. Tudor Parfit. Yes, he got the email and the photos, and he sent it to his Arabic scholar as well. That's in the field of studies of Arabic. So, and he shot it down. So, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? You want a name? I'm gonna give you a name. Professor Dr. Tudor Parfit was also involved in the process, and I feel safe enough because I got a relationship. We have a relationship with him to be able to mention his name and be able to say thank you for sending it to your scholar, who's an Arabic linguist and a PhD in the field of studies. So you want a name? There you go. Now you don't have to run and try to track nobody down.
And even with that whole Richard Katz foolishness, right? And again, all these emails were sent during that same time, right? Even for them to try to come up with some foolishness to say that they started out with trying to say you came up with this and came up with some cockamamie formula by the very one who reached out to each professor, right? The good guy got bad cop angle, and purposely put in there said that he purposely sent superimposed images to the professors he reached out to guide their eyes, right?
Right.
Literally said that in the video, right? But here it is, bully these professors, and then like, okay, well, why won't you give us all the information on this person? It's like almost like somebody punching you in the face and asking you what's wrong or why you ducking.
Right. Yeah.
So, and family, that's why I wanted to share this here to make it clear. We don't need none of we didn't need these scholars. We didn't need anyone to validate us, but because it kept being asked, we put it out there. And look at what happened. Look at how ugly and how nasty it's gotten. And what's sad is even some of our own brothers and sisters that's supposed to be in this truth start pushing this same foolishness.
Absolutely.
People that we thought was cool, but because of whatever agendas, decided to follow the same playbook. So one thing you don't hear no one talking about in any of those groups, and because you can vouch for it, no one else has ever talked about the insipidity language on the pews. Simple.
No, didn't.
Not even Professor, what's his name from the cryptic, Ephraim Isaac. See, these guys are so despicable that they even tried to question Ephraim Isaac assessment on the pews and did videos on it, trying to say he's wrong.
Oh, man.
And that's his area of expertise. He's an Ethiopian Beta Israel. And guess what? He was born and raised in as the Amharic language and went to school just like Professor Youssef. But because he confirmed what I said years ago, and the people at the church could confirm that I said to them that there's Ge'ez on the pews. They all of a sudden now, Ephraim Isaac don't know what he's talking about. Come on, family. And many of our brothers and sisters have condoned this behavior and allowed them to have you start saying, hey, we don't need to know this information. It's not important. Yes, it is important. If it wasn't, why they're making such a sort of effort to throw slander on it? If they were really concerned about this landmark, how come they don't have any videos of them going down to visit the place? How come we don't see images of them sitting down in front of the pews and sitting down in some of those walkthroughs? So again, incivity, language is symbols is what I also discovered on the pews and confirmed it, right? And I just want to just highlight something real quick. Not going to go too deep in this, right? And I even gave the source, one of the sources in one of the videos I did. They didn't touch this right here. Even with the collab that me and my cousin, our cousin Benea, we did. I broke down some symbols here. And then fast forwarding and giving you the formula how to even approach many of these symbols, right? I went back to the original website, what they said here. But then I'm just fast forwarding here. Now I began to break down this pew. The only reason why I didn't break down this portion right here publicly is because if you see, it's kind of overlapping as far as words written on top of it. If you see it in person, you will see it's almost like they were trying to write over to blot out what was underneath. So I didn't want to, publicly say what that is. But I can say emphatically what this is right here. And that's what you see written over here. Go ahead, cuz.
Because remember earlier when we was talking on the phone, I was talking about the inscription in the middle of the panel.
Yeah.
And how the calligrapher, even when I was talking to Professor Yosef, and the calligrapher was talking about the letters weren't connected and was showing the blotches.
Yeah.
When we blew it up. Because on that image that you have right now, you see on the top part of the panel, which will be the right side of the panel, on the top and the bottom, you see blotches. The same color blotches. No, go up. I'm talking about all up to the top on the left side, like literally at the top of the screen. You see those blotches? At the top of the screen, yeah, right there. Those same blotches are even in the middle of the panel.
Exactly.
And if you don't look at it with
right
the
here,
naked
that's
eye,
a blotch right here.
Yeah, those are blotches
right here.
Right. So
blotch right. Actually, this is actually a blotch right here.
That's what it is. Absolutely. And that's what the calligrapher even said. So you got blotches in the middle of an inscription, which makes it look like the letters are connected. But if you're not there to look at it with your naked eye, you really can't even tell was not a blotch and was actually the part of the inscription. But we can tell by looking at the blotches all over the panel, the top, the bottom. I mean, which would be the right because it's kind of laying down. But if it was standing up, it would be the right side, the left side, and even the vertical top part of the panel has blotches there. So if you're not really looking at this thing, you can take that and make that look like Arabic, but it's not. It's blotches all over that thing.
Exactly. And when you see here, family, I'm gonna break this down real quick. This is a loop. This is a loop right here. This is not two separate. This is a loop. This is two lines, a loop. Then you see this like looks like a resh with a yod, and I'm gonna explain this. And you see two yods here again, the lamed and a yod. And I may just touch a little bit on this right here, just to give you some different images of the letter. All right. So let me highlight this real quick. In the videos, I shared videos of Professor B describing each letter, but for the sake of this presentation and his request, I'm not including him in this presentation. But I can still make reference to published works that he teaches in school. So that's why I want to make it clear. Though he made it clear that he wants to be removed from this discussion, but I'm still legal. I can legally use his work that is published in school and is available online for free that you can download as well. So I just want to make that clear. So when you look at this, right, and this is coming from his book here, and I think I put the book here, like in Judaismo, the yod is basically a dot, but in the case of the pews, it would look like, a lowercase l. The two yods side by side at the beginning of a word is pronounced ye, as in yevar, right? And this is coming from a guide to reading and writing Judaismo by Dr. B. I'll just leave it at that. And you'll see here, right? Man, my mouse is not showing up. But anyway, but you see in the background, and the screen print that I'm using here, notice where you see the two yods at the man, my mouse is just not acting up. I mean, my mouse is acting up. But you can see where it says Yamar and the screen rip, the bottom right, you see the two yods at the beginning to confirm what I just pointed out. Yamar, right? But the two yods side by side in the middle of a word makes the sound A, as in, makes the A sound, right? And when we go right back to his book, his guide, notice what you see, right? You see that A sound, right? And at the top, you see the Ye sound, Yevar. And you see at the bottom, you see what? The A sound, right? The two yods next to what? The Resh, which would be pronounced what? Re, right? So the Zion numerical value is of this letter is 7. This letter means weapon. The Zion is written this way with the exception of the hook at the bottom of the letter, right? But again, if I went through this full presentation, and I'm going to do it in the Road to Savannah, share a lot more information, right? You'll understand why they put the hook there. But for the most part, it's the Zion is written in most different groups of Solar Trail is written popular with the same way without the hook at the bottom, right? But again, these charts that you see is just like the majority, so to speak, the common consensus of how it's written, but it can vary in different cultures and different areas. All right. So, and again, this is when you learn about incivity. There is no order of writing. A sign may be horizontal or vertical or oblique as it suits the convenience of the writer. That's part of the code. So then we see here the Resh or the Resh, which is means head protocol, but it can be written in two ways. It can be written in the traditional Hebrew style, or it can be written to tower above other letters. And you can even see this on a pew when you see that look like a hook there, right? Towering over other letters, which I got screen prints of that as well, and some of the other pews that I translated. But with the Resh, with the two yods, right, would make the Ray sound, as I pointed out. And then lastly, we see another yod, right? And we see the Lamed, right? This letter in Judaism takes several forms, right? And in Solar Trail, right? Solar Trail is the cursive form of Judaism. Rashi is the print. So the predominant form that you would see in most cases is it'll look just like what you see, but at the top, you'll see a little loop at the top of the letter, right? Going in reverse. But this is the dominant way that you'll see this letter written. So when we bring it together, Yiz, Re, Il, as in what? Is, Re, Il. Now let me share one little nugget, right? Because remember I said Solar Trail and Rashi charts gives a common template of the Hebrew letters, but it can vary. I have multiple charts for Solar Trail and Rashi. I have multiple. But let me share with you, just for example, the Tha, right? Or someone could pronounce it the Tov in Israeli language. But let me show you the multiple ways it can be written. And there's even more, right? Right? Here's another one. Uh-oh. Wait a minute, because what does that look like? What does that look like, family? What does that look like? What does that look like? Bishop Brown, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I got you on mute. Little noise over with the baby.
Now you saw how I shared some of the different ways of writing the Tav or the Tha in ancient Hebrew, right? And notice what's on the screen, right? I'll show some of the letters, the different ways of writing it. These are some of the different ways of writing the Tav, right? There's different ways of writing it. Of course, on the main charts that you probably come across, you want to see you'll see this right here. But guess what? There's multiple charts. There's multiple ways of writing the Tav. And I'm just using this as an example, right? Now, doesn't that look like similar to what you see on the pew?
Absolutely.
So, family, I'm going to stop right here because I could share more, but I'm going to stop right here. But I just want to give you a sample of seeing more on the pews, right? You know, I want to share more on it. So, but I want to show you here, family, and also I want to play one more thing from the clip from that we shared yesterday, so we can reiterate a point that Miss Janet pointed out, right? Let me just play this real quick. One last thing that she pointed out about the pews. Let me share one more thing. Let me see if this is where it is.
Their language and how to communicate their language. But this was
right now.
The black members were only allowed to sit in the balcony, while the white members would sit on the main floor.
the writing on the side of the pews. I do not believe it would have caused any kind of reaction, because the whites did not think that this was intelligent stuff anyway. So, you know, so therefore, putting this in plain view and in plain sight would not have drawn any attention, because they figured what they didn't want blacks to learn over here was English. They didn't want us to know how to write their language and how to communicate their language. But this would not have drawn any attention to them. Here we go now. I find out that there is a member of First African Baptist Church. His name is Jackson Benjamin Shefthal. Now, the Sheftals are some of the richest Jewish people. They're from the Jewish family. Jackson Benjamin is the son of Benjamin Shefthal. Also, he's the grandson of Mordecai Shefthal. Mordecai Shefthal is the person
of slavery.
Did not think that this was intelligent stuff anyway. So, you know, so therefore, putting this in plain view and in plain sight would not have drawn any attention, because they figured what they didn't want blacks to learn over here was English. They didn't want us to know how to write their language and how to communicate their language. But this would not have drawn any attention to them. Here we go now. I find out that there is.
All right, I'm gonna stop right there. I don't want to show any more than what I shared. Accidentally showed more. But Bishop Brown, any comments that you want to share on what we just shared? And I want to make sure you guys heard it again when she said to the Caucasians, the slave owners, and all of them, when they look at the pews, it's going to look like scribble scrabble to them. You know, and guess what? It's going to look like scribble scrabble to many of us when we don't understand, number one, the culture, when we don't understand writings itself, when we really don't truly understand the linguistic aspect of it. You know, from the naked eyes, just like the professor from PBS, he said it looks like an Arabic type of writing. He never said that it is Arabic. He said it looks like an Arab. It says an Arabic type of writing. So that simply means is that, hey, it looks like Arabic. And Solar Trail, right, looks like an Arabic type of writing. And when you start understanding the history of the language, then you'll see Morocco, you'll see some of the other places that utilize this writing. And it evolved in just a few other areas. All right. So go ahead, Bishop.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like absolutely funny, man, that people, you know, it killed the whole narrative. You know, people thought that that the slaves were illiterate. You know, that's actually very, very clever and smart, man. You know, even with our songs and the way we preach the messages, and not only that, but to the point of that even the slaves, our forefathers, when they prayed on certain plantations, they would have to put their faces in vases of water to suppress the sound of prayer because some of the slave masters did not want them to sing or to pray. And so they were very clever the way they did things. They would come to a standing still bottle of water when they prayed. They had somebody looking out. They would put their faces in the rivers or towards the lake or whatever to suppress the sound. Very, very clever, man. They were not illiterate. They were only illiterate because they could understand the captor's language. But that don't mean that they were illiterate to the fact that they didn't, I mean, you talk about smart people, and we built a lot of things that are not a lot of knowledge and a lot of intelligence. And I think that that's something that is very, 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 very interesting to see how they decided to encrypt these codes from the 9-pass quick to the ceiling, the ceiling design in the church, and all these things, man. The prayer symbols on the floor, use them as breathing holes, and I mean, it was just very, very clever, man, and a lot of wisdom in how they did it, and so that's definitely a blessing to know. And we're very creative people, and so that's all I wanted to say with that.
Well, I appreciate it, Bishop and family. This is why, I really wanted to do this live tonight, because we was quiet for over a year. We kept our mouths shut, and yet we continue to be thrown under the bus. Even this group decided to do a 1-year anniversary, Richard Katz, whatever. Like it's some type of joke. Like they actually did something, which did absolutely nothing. If anything, we had a perfect opportunity to be the people of the book, whether you are blood descended or not. We had an opportunity to be the example and show that, in spite of our differences, let's show the people that we can come together. And let's show them that, we all benefit from this information. Whether you agree or disagree, let's show that we still could be, we still could be cordial with one another. But instead, that's not how it was presented. It was presented as a way of wanting to slander what we bring to the table and create this narrative that we're being deceptive, that we need to come up with secret people, but they don't want to talk about what led up to us now choosing to hide the professors. I stand on the sources. As you see, I presented the sources, and if anyone want to challenge the sources, go to the sources, right? I didn't write those sources, but we always gave sources, but we were a little too naive and, thinking that, and that's one of the heart of a pastor, is you give everyone the benefit of the doubt, right? And I mean, that's one of the words of wisdom I got from a pastor, as word of wisdom, as when I started our ministry 14 years ago. He said, one thing you're going to learn as a pastor, he said, sometimes we keep the bad folks around too long. He said, the good folks don't stay around long enough, but it's those bad ones, the ones that have all kinds of agendas. They stick around a little too long, and sometimes we keep them around a little too long, hoping that they will change. Anything you want to share, Bishop, as we get ready to wrap up?
Nah, I mean that's really about it, and I'm kind of glad, finally got a chance to kind of like air all this out, just really talk about it and put it out there. Like I said, for a year, man, people, even while the time they were doing their marathons and people talking about, this certain thing, and even some of our brothers and sisters and everybody, once everything calmed down and emotions kind of settled down and things like that, people were able to get a chance to see things for what they were. And again, I mean, Professor Joseph is not the only one that we got. Like, I mean, bro, like it's so many emails. Like, man,
No.
I mean.
Now, cuz I know I didn't put Richard Katz's email up here. Did you want to say anything on it, or are you good?
Man, I don't
It's
have
up to you,
anything.
because now that we got it up here, it's up to
I
you.
mean, I'm done, man. I mean, we talked about Richard Katz last night. We talked about that.
Okay.
We talked about Joseph today. So we kind of just took the steps and kind of had to come. We talked about Professor B today. So I think we could just kind of, let it go in the wind. I think the people have gotten an even more clear understanding as we revisited the emails and the tones and who was sending what and how they were sending it, versus, the two emails we got, the person who said they saw Israel as Aramaic to Professor B. Um, and then we saw the other guy that comes with the email who was tied to the UA community saying that, you know, moderate Israelites saying that, we the true people and basically saying that they're not the real people. So we saw all of these things, and I think that we got a chance to revisit it and slowly look at it and slowly have the conversation about it. And so I think that ultimately, man, I don't think it's really anything really need to be said. I mean, even if people want to do videos after this, yo, man, I don't care. Like, man, half them dudes, I don't even know them dudes anyway. So I don't,
And you hit it on the nail, cuz. Go,
you
go
know what
ahead,
I'm
say that
saying?
again.
I'm just saying, half the dudes I don't even know, I don't talk to. I don't even have no interest in meeting them. Like, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, this was really just about, showing the information with the family history. It was asked of us to get our DNA. What do? We didn't need to present no DNA to believe we was Israel, but it was asked because we thought this was a honest community of people and pastors and the other people they wanted to see it. So we're like, okay, cool. So we went and got like 3, 4 DNA tests. You know what I'm saying? And then when it came up about that, then guess what happened? I'm no, I'm being accused of making folk take DNA to be members at Boom. Like all this type of stuff, started trickling down, from the beginning. So at the end of the day, man, I don't have nothing else to say about it. I'm just keep doing the work, and you know, ultimately, the documentary fell in our lap. Not only that, but the church had already done and had their own people. Their own people had, done their due diligence and conclusions of what was on the pews and even at the seal. So it really, I mean, to me, man, hey, it is what it is. Even matter of fact, even another Muslim brother that I interviewed, Amir Muhammad, even Amir Muhammad even talked about Hebrew on the pews. They did a video on and show Amir Muhammad talking, but never show Amir Muhammad saying that these are Israelites as well as others. And he said, yeah, man, and because I even mess with him. I'm like, are you giving us some exclusive information? He's like, no, I ain't giving no exclusive. I'm just saying. And he mentioned a Johnny, but at the same time, he said, yo, listen, man, you know, these are, these were Hebrews who wrote this. You got black Hebrews that was a part. So at the end of the day, man, all I'm saying is that I just want to stay in my lane and reach and do what I need to do. But other than that, people act like that, man. I don't have no type of all this internet stuff. I don't have no tolerance for that. You know what I'm saying? Like no type of tolerance. Folks know I'm in Atlanta. Folks know where I'm at. If people really trying to really have some type of conversation or whatever, man, holler at me on the back channel. Other than that, bro, this internet stuff, I don't do well with that type of stuff. And we just need to just leave it at that. Stay over there where you at. I stay over here where I'm at. And that's what it is. Other than that, you want to talk, hey man, you know where the ministry at? Come to the ministry if you're really about that. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, I don't have time for that, man. I'm at this point, cuz I'm done with it. Everything has been done. People got their videos out, and ultimately things went the way they went. We learned from it. So I don't have no type of feeling of getting to know them people. So that's really about it with me.
And I'm echoing exactly what you said. And moving forward, even though I'm working on the road to Savannah, but it's not going to deal with mentioning or trying to regurgitate the stuff that we had to deal with, but just to continue to move forward and just properly educate our people with what's what.
So when, because this is my first time I'm hearing about
you real quick, you probably recognize this. Since you mentioned his name, this is who Bishop Brown was mentioning, for as Amir Muhammad, who he interviewed and was talking about the pews. Want me to play it real quick, guys? Mute yourself. Well, never mind. I'm gonna play it anyway.
Yeah. You go ahead. You can go ahead and play it. You got it up.
So when, because this is my first time I'm hearing about the pre-Arabic writing, or African writing, shall I say? And I know we mentioned Ajami, and both of us we just kind of talked about Ajami and whatnot. I know you had a brother that you know who looked at it, and then also Professor Yusuf that I know looked at it as well. And there seemed to be some type of similarities in conclusion. And but you threw out something that was something that I think is interesting to look at, and how you said that these are pre-Arabic writings, meaning like they had, I guess, a mixture of some form of African and Jewish writing that of their own language.
Yeah, man, come on.
Wait, hold on,
if Arabs was involved and Hebrews was involved, and they used the script as language, not only oral, but they use script. Come on, man, it had to come down, influence us some way, somehow.
So they had their own language that basically nobody would understand but them, if they're having some form of communication of trying to get away from the white man. If this place is being used as a place for housing runaway slaves, they would have a dialect or communication that they would basically take and say, okay, we only know this language, so nobody else will really be able to interpret it. But we do know that there's some form of African and Jewish type of collaboration.
You heard it from the horse's mouth, the source that Bishop pointed out. He even said African writings mixed with Jewish writings, basically Hebrew writings. And again, this is what we talked about on the pews, that you see Arabic. I'm not Arabic, but Amharic, Ge'ez, mixed with Aramaic, and you also see cursive Hebrew. And remember, Sola Trail is a cursive Hebrew. I can actually point out some of the Rashi print on the pews. So we hit on all of that, right? So with that being said, family, because we're gonna wrap this up. I know you've been here for a little while.
I want to say this real quick before we get off. I want the people in the front, the middle, and the back to hear me very clear. We are not dissing Muslims or Arabic or any of that. I want everybody to hear me straight up, okay? Is there a possibility that slaves were on the ship that knew Arabic or Hebrew or even other languages? There's a possibility of that. All we saying is First African Baptist Church. That's not where the conclusion is coming to. There are even other conclusions up the road where we talk about Sapelo Island, where we talk about Omar Ibn Said. Matter of fact, me and Amir Muhammad was talking about him. Bro, the facts are there. He wrote Arabic, and what it is. But nobody is dissing Arabic, and nobody is dissing any. Professor Yusuf is a Muslim. Ain't nobody dissing them or anything like that. So I don't want people to try to take that and spin it and be like, oh yeah, I don't know why they're against Arabic. Why? No, we're not saying we're against Arabic. It's a Shemitic language.
Exactly.
But all we're saying is when it comes down to dealing with First African Baptist Church, that's where we're talking about. That is the focus of emphasis, not two churches over. Maybe if it was two churches over, maybe they got Arabic over there. But all we're saying is when it comes to this, it's too much information and too many people that have looked at it and have come to their conclusion. That's what it is. So I just want to be clear that what we're talking about tonight has nothing to do with this. I got several Muslim brothers that speak Arabic, that read and write Arabic, bro. Like it's not that type of party. So I just want people to understand that for the people in the front, the people in the middle, and the people in the back. And I hope y'all have a blessed and wonderful night. And that's all I got to say.
And cuz one last bombshell, because I know you're going to drop it last night. I was like, I'm going to let you go ahead and drop it. He's going to share what many people don't know about the original name of First African Baptist Church.
Nah, you know what? I'm not going to even do it. I'm going to let you put it in. I'm going to let Road to Savannah do that.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right.
If you don't use that, then we'll come back later and talk about it during the time of the premiere or the after party of Road to Savannah 2. But okay. I think we're done here. We got enough conversation and information out there, man.
Okay. Well, that's good. We'll just leave it at that because that is another bombshell that we are going to share in the Road to Savannah that further solidify what we've been saying about the pews. And again, as we stated last night, multiple professors confirmed the writings on the pews and all, from documentaries that we shared that we didn't know existed to other information that's already there that the church themselves have already tapped into, scholars and all. So, but nevertheless, family, really appreciate you guys. Not going to hold you up. Not going to prolong this night any longer. But again, prayerfully, this put that whole discussion to rest. If someone really wants to have an honest dialogue about the pews, then reach out to us offline. But make sure, but we're definitely going to use discernment. Some things I'm just not going to share publicly about the pews. Number one is because there's a reason why the writings were written in a way that for only our people to understand. So I'm not going to crack that code just for the sake of trying to get brownie points from anyone. So I transliterated that one pew. I did a little bit more. I shared to you an additional nugget. But guess what? I'm just going to do that one pew, but the rest of the stuff I'm keeping internal. For those, just on a need to know basis. For those within the community that really want to know what some of the other things say on the pews, but we're going to use discernment. I'm not just going to release that to anyone because those are words of our ancestors that still, some of those warnings is still prevalent today. Cuz, any final words you want to share? Any people you want to put in the bucket?
Nah, man, I don't have no bucket list tonight, man. I'm good. I did the big dog bucket list last night, and that's really about it. But man, I just just thank the Most High for once again, being able to come on, be able to dialogue and talk about it. I guess shameless plug. Don't forget, y'all. Listen, if you ain't got that album, go out and get that album. Turn Me Up.
I forgot to put the ad up.
Don't worry about it, cuz.
Let's do it Friday night.
Friday night we're gonna have an album listening party. The album is already out on iTunes. Just search Majors, Turn Me Up. If you have, you can check out the Boom Church page and get the link in there. But Friday night we'll come on, bump some of the records on there. Y'all can check it out. And also, if you're in Atlanta, February the 18th, I think that's what it is. Pastor Kelly gonna be here, B'nai Israel gonna be here, and a host of other brothers. Got one of our Better Israel, Ethiopian, Mores is going to be in the country as well, and a list of other. It's a free conference gathering for Israel only, and we're gonna do it like that, man. It's gonna be absolutely free here in Atlanta. So if you're in the Atlanta area, check out my page, check out Pastor Kelly page, check out B'nai Israel page, and the information is on there. And we'll see y'all, man. So I just want to drop those shameless plugs, man.
Absolutely. And Tazara, appreciate you, man. Doing some great work, brother. Really appreciate you.
Definitely. Shout out to Tazara.
Those jewels, like some people may not know Tazara or Sarah means seed in Hebrew. So he's really been dropping some seeds, some jewels. So really appreciate you, brother. And let us know how your schedule looking. Love to bring you on the platform. So really appreciate all what you're doing and your due diligence and standing in the gap as well. And, you know, confronting a lot of the foolishness that many of our people really don't have a clue that you have helped, you know, push in other directions. So really appreciate you. So with that being said, you know, the garbage can is just going to go to everyone that have participated in the foolishness to stir up unnecessary strife among the communities. You know, because it's not that serious to where so we have to sit here and start making up stuff and, you know, slandering people. Look, if the Church of Savannah, if they didn't change, guess what? You know, we still moved on and we're still doing our ministry. You know, when they changed it, we weren't doing videos and all that other stuff and rubbing people's faces in and all that other stuff. It's like, hey, you know, they just corrected what should have been there from the beginning. And so with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up tonight, family. This is gonna be the last discussion I have on it, regardless of who call themselves making whatever videos. We're gonna leave it alone. So, cuz don't hang up. Stay online for a couple of minutes. Just want to highlight you real quick.
Gotcha.
So, family, as Moses said to the children of Israel in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, he said to them, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, you will never have to deal with them ever again. The Most High will fight for you, but you have to hold your peace. And in the Hebrew, the word that you'll see there is karash, which means be quiet. And sometimes we have to learn how to keep silence, even when we want to say something, even when we know the stuff that is going on is really false and slanderous. But let the Most High fight for you and hold your peace. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.